Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. We will be discussing about Apache Hive on big data and how is it basically used, what are their features, or what are Apache Hive features, and what are Apache Hive tables. There are two different types of tables predominantly, so we'll try and understand the difference between them. Let's move on. But before I begin, I just want to highlight one specific point here. So 360 DGTMG is proud to launch these domain analytic programs. So a lot of people might already be aware of it, but this is just to make sure that everybody who's joining have the information passed on. So the world is moving towards analytics, towards AI. So any industry, any domain that you're currently working in, right, you can implement analytics in that. So we are proud to launch these domain specific analytics programs for 50 plus domain analytics domains. Whether you are from HR, whether you are from marketing, whether you are from science, life sciences, healthcare, manufacturing, right? Different sectors. You would probably want to understand how analytics can help in your work area, right? So you might want to explore how this, what are the various contents that will be covered as part of this domain analytics programs. You can always visit our website and learn more about it. Now these are the accreditations that we have for our programs. City and Guilds, University Technology Malaysia, and TUV SUD. These are the three different organizations. City and Guilds is a UK-based educational institute. They evaluate and accredit the technical courses, professional courses, and they have close to 140 years of experience. And Queen Victoria herself, the Queen of England herself, sponsored this program. She takes care of this. She monitors it. It's that reputed. It started way back in 1800. Then we have UTM. This is the government university for Malaysia, one of the government universities for Malaysia, and it is in the top 5 rankings. It's the 5th university across Malaysia. And they also support our programs. They give certifications for our programs. If you wish to get a certification from any of these bodies, you can always talk to our representatives and learn more details about that. TUV SUD is a German-based organization. They also support the technical programs. They evaluate the programs, the quality and all that. And they certify our programs. So that's the richness of our programs. This is to apprise you about the certifications that you may want to try and claim. Now let us try and understand what is Apache Hive and what are its tables. Let's proceed. So the agenda for today would be, we will be introducing ourselves to Apache Hive. Then we'll talk about Hive tables. And then we'll discuss what are these internal and external tables. And the predominant thing that we will be doing here is the hands-on. I'll literally show you how these tables are managed by big data systems. So Hive, these are the features. Apache Hive is an open source system. Now it was developed by Facebook. Now when we talk about big data, okay, let me just take a step back. We're talking about big data here, right? So big data basically is explaining about the V's. This is, by now, I think most of you people know. It talks about volume. This is size of the data set. Velocity, the speed at which the data is getting generated. Variety. This is the type of the data, whether it is structured, unstructured, semi-structured data. Then we have veracity. Now of late people have started to add 5th V as well, the value. But these three basically are framing the crux the definition of big data. Now, all the organizations trying to take the advantage of the data that is getting generated across all touch points of the organization. So they started collecting the data to dig into the data and understand the patterns. Of course, we need specialized tools. You cannot use the traditional RDBMS systems. These are SQL based systems, but processing your data, you would be basically storing it in tables. When I talk about RDBMS system, it is basically schema based databases, right? So you can only store structured data into your RDBMS systems. And to process that, we have SQL language, structured query language, or you can say it's a programming language standard, which is used for processing the data, which is of course is nothing but tables. But when we talk about big data, you have a challenge: the size, the speed, the velocity, variety, right? Veracity, value. Now these traditional systems have a lot of restrictions. They cannot be scalable. They cannot be scalable. Big challenge, right? So Facebook exactly had this challenge. We know Facebook is so prominent. Everybody has a Facebook account, right? So every day there's so much of data that is getting generated from different applications that we use in Facebook. Different forms of data gets generated. So all the data has to be managed, processed by Facebook. But if I use a big data tool, right? Basically, this big data is classified into two parts: HDFS and MapReduce. So if you join our value add programs on Hadoop and your Spark, Hadoop and Spark, we will be discussing about these components. This is basically your computing framework. You'll be writing codes to process the data. Now this MapReduce is basically a low-level language. When I say low-level, you'll be using Java or C or Pascal, these kind of programming languages to process the data. And these are very lengthy programs that you will have to write, and you need to be a specialized programmer to do that. But Facebook has a challenge. Facebook has a lot of subject matter experts, business mentality, business guys. They don't know programming. So they were finding it really difficult to analyze and derive some interesting insights from the data. As a developer, you might not have the business logical thinking capability. Maybe, right? That could be a challenge. So Facebook wanted to have something new which can actually help them process this big data that is getting generated. So they started Hive project. So Hive is very similar to SQL, but we cannot call it as a SQL. We call it as SQL on top of big data. Now SQL is itself a standard, right? So on big data, when you're using your structured queries to process your data, we call that as HQL. The standard is called as HQL. Okay, so it is developed by Facebook and it is open source. It's freely given. You can download and start working on it. It is the interface for data analysts to process structured data. That is very important. You need to understand. Whenever we talk about any query language, right, it always talks about structured data. It's SQL-like language, and Hive is used for data warehousing. So it is a tool which was developed for data warehousing. So Hadoop is a big data tool which is based on distributed computing. We call it as distributed framework. So as part of this, you will have a lot of capabilities to handle the big data for storage and of course processing as well. Okay. Now on this, you have options to store the data from various sources. If you look at an organization, the data is getting generated from different touch points, right? If you talk about Facebook, for example, so many different ways the data gets generated. So you have to accumulate all the data, right, and store it. So we use Hive to do that, data warehousing tool. So for example, you are one of the ID, you have a Facebook account, so you become one record, one observation, right, one ID. Now for your ID, if I have to create a profile, if I have to understand what kind of a person you are, I need to look at the entire data that you are generated, right? So I need to basically collect all the data and process it and store it in a proper format so that if I have to look at your profile, I don't have to redo the entire stuff. I can directly go to the warehouse, pull your record, right? So Hive is used for that kind of a transactions. So it takes data from HDFS. So data is already there on big data system. Remember I told Hadoop is split into two parts. HDFS is one part and there's another component called as MapReduce. Of course there is a third component, we'll not discuss about it. There's something called as Yarn. We're not talking about it. So MapReduce is for processing. For data storage, this is used. So Hive basically pulls the data from this HDFS component of Big Data Tool Hadoop. And MapReduce is used for processing. This is for storage. Let me write that as well. And this is used for processing. Okay, so MapReduce is used for execution. Then how does Hive actually come into the picture if you are saying your data is getting processed by MapReduce, right? So Hive is basically a language or a program which is written at a high level. It's called as a high level language. This code is converted by Hive engine to low level. You don't have to worry about writing the low level program. This engine will take care of it. So this low level language is nothing but again MapReduce. So the code automatically gets converted into MapReduce. Okay, so that's the reason why we say it uses MapReduce for execution. It's a schema full. As we create a table in Hive, right, the schemas will get created. We have to create the schema. Okay, that means on HDFS, which is a big data storage component, I can have different varieties of the data. It could be structured data, it could be semi-structured or unstructured, right? But when I am accessing this data using Hive, I would create tables. That means I'm converting the data which is there in different formats into structure format. And then it will get stored in a table. Now the structure of table, what does it, okay, let me ask you this question. What does schema means? Anybody from SQL side? Anyone has knowledge of SQL? Let me see if you can answer this question. Nobody has a knowledge about SQL? Strange. There should be. Okay, how many of you are engineers? Computers, basically. Okay, I see one message. Okay, Avinash. Schema is not a relationship. Okay, I can explain schema as a, okay, I think I have a message. Not exactly table. You're talking about schema for a table. Table schema. I can explain schema as a definition. So when I create a table, I'm giving a proper structure. Collection of data types, okay. Data structures, yes, okay, we can say that. Predefined structure, that's correct, Avinash. So schema basically means the definition of the data. So if I have a table, for example, employee data set, I would have employee ID, employee name, let's say salary and designation. If I take a small example here, what kind of data would have should be stored here in this column? What kind of data? What kind of data should I have there? Yeah, integers, right? The data type is integer. Name. If I talk about name, yes, string, or you can say varchar. Right. Salary again becomes integer or float. Designation again becomes a string. Right. So these data types or data structures are basically your schema. So for this table, let's call this table as employee table. We are defining a certain structure. We're giving it definition. So that definition is nothing but your schema. Okay. Now, what does these two lines mean? Very important. RDBMS systems are basically schema on write. They follow that schema on write standards. Whereas Hive is based on schema on read. So when I talk about RDBMS, this is how we generally denote a database with. Assume this is the traditional database. So it is a RDBMS system. Okay. Now if I have to store some data, I have to store the data in a table format. That's mandatory. So I'll create a table and I store it. So when I'm creating a table, I'm giving the schema. So data is in raw format. I'm storing the data. I'm writing the data into tables in database. So that is your RDBMS on write, schema on write means. Now coming to this Hive, we are calling this Hive as schema is on read. Okay. So when we talk about big data systems, there would be multiple computers which are interconnected. Let's say this is a cluster. We call this as Hadoop cluster, assume. This is your cluster. So I have multiple computers. All the computers together work so that it gives you an inference. It gives you an impression that all these together are working like a single computer. Okay. So you will treat this as one supercomputer. But internally, each of that has some storage space, right? So you'll be storing the data there. And this collectively is nothing but we call that as HDFS. Assume I'm basically expressing the storage components, right? The hard disks here. So this becomes the storage space and we call this as HDFS. This is your distributed file system. So there would be a file system on top of this space. Okay, this is your storage space. So your data is already there on big data. So this is where you have big data already stored. Now big data will be in unstructured format as well, right? So I'm not writing the data in structured format. I'm already having that. Now on this data, if you want to process this data using Hive, if I have to use Hive, then what I do? I read the data for processing, right? So I do a read, and when I am reading, I create the schema. Because Hive deals only with structured data. So whatever the unstructured data that is there, if I'm reading it, then I'll create a schema to it and then create this table, Hive table. So Hive, hence it's known as schema on read. Schema is on read. When you're reading, you will create the structure, right? And then you will basically have this table available. Is this concept clear? If you understand this, then you have got a clear vision of Hive. Any questions here? Yes, friends, any questions? Okay, probably you'll get more questions as and we move on. Fine. So these are the bunch of features that we have for Hive. Now this is how your Hive components are expressed. No, Gopi, not exactly. You cannot say Hive deals with both structured and unstructured data. Hive is a component which would deal with data which is in structured format. So when you are reading the data to process it, you are reading the data in a structured format. So it cannot handle unstructured data processing. Hive is in only read or edit also. Okay, so what do you mean by read and edit also? I have my data already there in my disk. Okay, this is, let's say, HDFS. I have some data. What I'm doing, I'm creating a Hive table and getting this data in a structured format for processing further. So I'm reading this into Hive table. And then I process it. I might add some columns. I might delete the column. I'm accessing only the tables. I'm not touching this. Right? Now we have something called as Metastore, which is again a database wherein these Hive tables schemas are residing. Okay, let me explain the components. Probably that would give you more insights on what we are discussing here. So Hive has different components. We can broadly classify them into three parts. Though, I mean, we don't classify them, but it's easy to explain it this way. So you have external interfaces where you would, a client would try to interact with the Hive engine. Okay, there is Hive software. We call this as Hive engine, assume. This is the Hive engine. To interact with this, we need some interface, right? You, as a client, if you want to write something, there should be some medium, right? So it would be command line interface, or there would be third-party web UIs. There could be application APIs created. JDBC, ODBC connections can be created to established to connect directly to the database, right? So there are different ways that we can try and connect to Hive engine to write the codes. Then we have a third-party application interfaces where this kind of thrift servers, which would actually help us execute the Hive queries. Okay, we get statements, Hive statements or Hive queries, which would basically parse and execute it. And we can get it done by the third-party softwares as well. And the most important component is the Metastore. Metastore basically is the schema. It's a system catalog like you see, right? It basically stores the structure of the Hive table that you are creating from data which is lying on the HDFS, which could be unstructured as well, right? So we are giving a structure to it. That structure is getting stored in Metastore. Let us discuss about these components in detail. Okay, there are various other components like you can see here. We have driver, we have execution engine, compiler, right? Shell. So all we'll try and understand these components. So driver, it acts like a controller, right? It is basically just like your car driver, assume. Right? It acts like a controller which receives the query language, the statements. It creates a session and it monitors the entire life cycle of that execution, the query execution. Right? As I said, it creates a session, right? And it will store the necessary metadata that is getting created into Metastore, right? And it would also act like a collection point, the output. So driver would take the query in, gives you the output, and it is responsible for the entire execution of the code till you get the output. Okay, it's like a controller, monitor, right? So this is basically checking the progress, keeping an eye on the progress. We have Metastore. This meta store basically is storing the metadata of each table that is getting created in Hive. Now, what does metadata mean? Anyone? What is metadata? Okay, I see some responses. Yes, that's the definition, right? Classic definition. Metadata is data about data. What does that mean? Data of data, data about data. What does that mean? No one? Basic information about data. Fine. Okay, I can take that. So what we are saying basically here is the data is getting stored in HDFS. This is where your entire data gets dumped for big data. From here, I am creating Hive tables. That means I'm giving some structure, right? I'm giving some definition, structure, and then creating the tables. So for Hive, the data is lying here, but the information or the structure information about the data is given here. So this definition gets stored in an RDBMS based system. This definition is nothing but your metadata. So metastore stores this definition for all the Hive tables that we are generating. It also includes partition. Partition metadata means that's another concept, because if you see, there are multiple physical computers which are interconnected to create this big data, big computer, special computer. So physically there are multiple computers which are interconnected, right? That means when you are storing the data has to split itself and get stored in different computers. So that partitioned metadata will also be made available, so that we can understand where my table is getting stored. My actual data is getting stored in which node, right? So that is metastore also has partition metadata information. And this is, as I said, is a traditional RDBMS system. So your schema information is also stored in a table structure. The metadata helps the driver here to basically keep a track of the data. Now, if the driver has to monitor and make sure everything is in place, it needs to know what is happening, right? So it connects with metastore to understand those things. It's just an RDBMS system which will hold all the information about your Hive tables. Then we have compiler. Now this compiler basically compiles the Hive queries that you are writing into MapReduce jobs. So if you say Hive, as I said, is a query language. If I talk about SQL, Hive is very similar to SQL. So I'll say select star from table, get table name. This is a simple query that we can create. Hope everybody understands this query. Select star from table name. What does this give us? Select star, what does that tell us? Exactly, the information about the entire table, the information, or I should say the data in the table. Right? Yes. So this query, which you are writing at a SQL level, right, at a high level, needs to be processed, needs to be converted into map and reduce jobs, okay, which is the processing framework of big data. So the code has to be converted into map reduce tasks. Now that is basically done by this component called compiler. And this compiler converts the query initially into something called as AST, abstract syntax tree. It's a tree which is getting generated, which basically has a flow saying that, hey, this is what you have to do. Select star from table means you need to refer to these tables, the contents in the tables, pull that and then show it. So there is a flow, right? It's like a flow diagram. Abstract. It's like a flow diagram, as I said, what needs to be done in an abstract will explain. And this AST, which gets created, right, is analyzed for compile time errors, right, whether it is compatible or not, and then try to compile it so that you can find the errors. And once this is done, that AST is getting converted into something called as a DAG, directed acyclic graph. So after you create the execution flow, you validate it, check whether it is appropriate or not, check for the errors, and then convert it into actual plan. Do this. This is step 1, step 2, step 3. So you're basically giving a direction, hence we call it as a directed acyclic graph. Acyclic means it will not be a cyclic thing. It has to flow like this. If you want to do a cycle, again you come here. So there will be multiple stages. Right? So this is DAG. We generally don't write it in a loop. It's always acyclic. Okay? So this is how the compiler converts your high level query into a low level MapReduce jobs. DAGs are created. It's nothing but a simple flow diagram. It's like a flow chart. And using that flow chart, the execution happens. Now we also have something called as an optimizer, which would basically look at the DAG, right? It performs various transformations on DAG to optimize it. Optimize basically means when you look at the flow chart, there might be stages where you can see that it is going like this. So optimization basically means try and modify your code in such a way that it gives you the best result like this. The code becomes better, right? So it internally does that. Ultimately, the objective is it needs to give you better performance. So whatever the Hive query you are writing, when it is getting converted into MapReduce and then goes for execution, optimizer will come in and say that, hey, this is the right way to do the code, don't do that way. Okay? And then it converts into MapReduce jobs. We have executor. This is the engine component which actually gets the Hive query executed. Once compilation and optimization is completed, the executor will actually execute the tasks. Okay? External interfaces, we have already seen these are the command line interfaces or ODBC, JDBC connections, which basically allow us to interact with Hive. And Metastore we have already seen. Now when I talk about metadata, as I said, it is a simple RDBMS based system. And by default, when you are installing Hive, we will get a single instance, one instance DB, which is getting installed automatically. This DB gets installed, single instance DB get installed. This is default. For development, for practicing and for testing, you can use it, but we never use a single instance database. We have to use multiple instance or basically multiple instances database, production database like MySQL or Oracle database, or you can say SQL Server, right? All these are production based instances or databases which will allow you to have multiple instances. So single instance DB basically means when you install your Hive and you're launching Hive in one session, you will not be able to launch Hive in any other session. Nobody on the server will be able to do it because it's a single instance DB, right? For practice purpose, we can use it, and it is called as a Derby SQL Server. There is a research which is happening on why we cannot use NoSQL databases. why we have to use SQL databases only. Right? That's the research which is happening. Probably we will have a breakthrough in next version of Hive. We are currently at Hive 3. The latest version which is released in Hive is Hive 3. A lot of advancements have happened. But yeah, further we might want to look at why we have to use RDBMS systems here. Ultimately, your RDBMS system is not used and big data tools are being used because of the challenges, right? So again, we have to fall back to RDBMS systems in Hive. Now, when I come to Hive, right, those are the components. And when you work with Hive, as I said, it is an open source data warehouse system or a tool. And the data in Apache Hive is categorized into table, partitions, and buckets. One bucket might have multiple partitions, right? Or you can say partition is basically having multiple buckets. You can talk about that as well. And one table can be partitioned into multiple subtables. Okay, this is how we basically have the data segregated in Apache Hive: tables, partitions, and buckets. Okay, now the Hive tables that we are creating, they are classified broadly into two types. These are basically called as internal table or external table. Internal table is also known as managed table. What does this managed table mean? When we are creating Hive, right, by default the table would be called as internal table or Hive managed table, which is automatically managed by Hive itself. Right? It manages the data within this Hive tables. Right? This means Hive will move the data which is there on HDFS into your warehouse directory. You will create a dedicated warehouse directory on big data system. Your data might lie anywhere, but when you say internal table, it will create a table and store the data there in your warehouse directory. So it's a copy. You copy the actual data for which you are giving structure, and that table is getting created and stored in warehouse. Now we also have something called as external table, right? Now external table basically when we are trying to create, Hive does not have any control on that actual data of the table. Hive only refers to the data which is existing outside of the warehouse directory. There will be a warehouse directory which is default created, and your data, when you say external data, will not be stored in warehouse directory. It would be there somewhere else in the disk. HDFS, right? We are referring to HDFS. So you'll be talking to that external source of data which is not in warehouse. So that is the major difference between Hive internal tables and external tables. Now there are commands which will help us convert internal table to external table to internal table. All you have to do is set this table properties. If you say the table properties is false, external is equals to false, then if you say true, that means it's an external table. That's a small table command, alter table command that we will run. Now you can see all these are your Hive commands only. It just looks like SQL queries, right? So if you are familiar with SQL, then Hive is not at all a problem for you. But one thing you need to remember in Hive is the tables can be managed internally or externally. That means the Hive tables can be segregated in two types. Okay. Now everything else is like your simple SQL queries. These are a sample set of Hive commands. So how do you create a database? You say create database and database name. I'm basically showing a small code called test. I'm creating a database called test. By default, when you install Hive, you will get one database called as a default, right? And when you create any additional databases like this, you will get all the list of the databases shown here by this command called show databases. You can also have comments, description when you're creating the databases. Excuse me. Now, what is the current database name you want to see? These are different database commands that you can run. If you want to use a specific database that you created, then you can use this command, use database name. And in that database, you want to create a table, you'll use create table command, right? But when you're trying to create the table, remember here you are only giving the structure. This is how your SQL also works, right? You create the table and then you load the data into it, right? So just like that. So we are creating a table, giving the structure, and then the data which is there located in HDFS storage device, we get that data loaded into this table in a structured format. Right? This is about your Hive commands. So let us now look at the hands-on. We'll talk about, right, we have seen the code examples. We'll basically run that in here. So I have basically, let me just check JPS. I'll try to launch Hive. To launch Hive, we just say Hive. So I have a small list of commands. Okay, so we have Hive here. Let's say show databases. Let me launch this, execute this command. So this command should show all the databases which are available in the instance, I mean this particular software. It should show basically the default. Okay. Okay, there's a small issue. Let me clear this off. I should say schema tool. Right? You can see that the instance is not initialized. The schema is not initialized here. That's the error that we are seeing. Unable to instantiate, right? Metadata session. So we will try to create this schema tool, and I would say init schema. The DB type is DB. Oh, okay. I think the command is wrong. I need to put a hyphen there. Yeah. Now to initialize the schema, the data type is Derby database. Data type. That's the default name. Derby is a single instance RDBMS based server. Okay. Schema tool failed. The metastore has already been created, so just remove it. Let me retry this. Okay. So now let's say Hive. So once the schema is initialized, the Derby database is initialized. We are now launching Hive. Now it should not throw error, but let's try and check this. It looks like my metastore DB got corrupted. That's the reason why it was not able to instantiate or start. So databases, and semicolon is mandatory. That's the syntax. And it has high latency because the query needs to be first parsed, compiled, right, to map and reduce jobs, and then the execution happens internally by map and reduce component. Yeah. Now look at this. When I say show databases, it said OK. OK is a confirmation that the execution has completed. What is the database name that we have? By default, we have a default as a database. Now you can create a database like this. Okay, you can just say create database. I say testdb. So it is now going to create the database called testdb. You can again say show databases. It should show the list of the databases which are available, and you can see now default is there and testdb is there. Whenever you are executing any Hive command, this confirmation would be there. You see OK, that would be the confirmation, right? So it's a simple command. Now, what is the database that I am currently using? If I want to see the name, then you can use this command. I'm just typing that, copy pasting here. Oops. Well, let me just type in. Just hive.cli. Print the current key equal to, we say true. When I do that, you can see here in the bracket it shows what is the current database that you're using. Now I've created a database called testdb, right? So I'm just typing that. I'm saying use testdb. Now the default will get changed to testdb. Look at that. Now if you don't want to see this, you can simply say false. Gone. If you say true, it will show the database name. Right? Let us have the prompt. Now what are the tables that I have? So if I say show tables, it will basically give me the list of tables that I have in the system. Now you can see I don't have any tables, right? So let me create a table here. I'm saying create table name, right? So that's the simple command. Let's say, yeah, I'll use the same name. If I say create table demo, it is throwing an error. Why? Why is it throwing error? What is this error basically is telling us? Anyone? What is the error? Demo is the keyword, no. Demo is the table name. Or I'll say, rather than say demo, let me say TB1, table 1. I get the same error. Why? Exactly. We have not mentioned any structure to the table. I need to give at least one column, right? So let me say create table 1. You can see here in the bracket we need to give the structure to the columns. So I'm going to say ID integer comma name space string. Okay, that's basically the syntax. ID would be the first column. I'm saying the data type is integer. Name is the second column, and I'll take the data as string. So now if you say show tables, it will show table 1, TB1 as the result. Okay, so that's how we create the table. Now let us go to another prompt, and I'm basically creating a notepad here. I'm launching a notepad, and I'm saying, okay, I'll say gedit sample.txt. And let me try and copy this content here. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do that. If it is not working, then it's a problem. It's not working. Very bad. Fine. Let me type in. Let me quickly type in, and probably then we will be using this. I'll not type in all. I'll just basically small values, okay? I'll just try take this last one. Okay. So I'm saving this information. Now this information is simple file, right? The file is called as sample.txt. A very simple file. Now I would want to store this into a database. Okay, now what happens here? Let me show you. This is how we basically look at the Hadoop database, Hadoop file system. I want to see what is there in the storage. So I'll say Hadoop fs-ls/. So I have temp. Let me show what is there in user. Temp is for temporary calculations, and I have /user. You can see /hive is there. I'm again checking what is there inside Hive. You see warehouse folder. Let's see what is there in warehouse folder. You will see testdb. Testdb is there. Now inside testdb, this is a directory. You can see all of these are directories. Now inside testdb, what do we have? There would be a table called tb1. There would be a file called tb1. Right? So inside tb1, what do we have? It would be empty for now, because I've not loaded any table, right? See, look at that. There's no data. So nothing is shown, right? We'll go back to that old terminal here. In Hive, now I want to create a table. So I'm creating this table here. Again, let me try and write the query. I'll just put this side by side so that it is easy for me to type. I'll say create table. If it does not exist already, let's say employee, let's say ID is integer, name is string, let's say salary is also string, designation is also a string. Okay, so that is the syntax that we have. Basically 4 columns schemas are defined here, right? Now I would be defining, right, the properties of the physical file that I'm going to use to pass the data. Now if you observe, when I created the data here, let me open that sample file. I'll say gedit and sample.txt. It's a notepad. If you observe the contents here, I have 4 fields. Those are the 4 columns that I have defined here. We'll also see string, salary is string, right? You can overchange that to integer as well. But see, the rows and columns, how are these differentiated? How are they separated? Right? Each row is formatted by delimiting fields which are separated by tab. /t means tab separated. The rows which are separated by new line character, the contents within each row, they are formatted by a delimiter called /t. Making sense? So I'm defining the structure, guys, so that I would understand when it gets the data loaded. So when I'm saying, hey, take this data, right? So I'm basically saying this is how your data should be read. Row format delimited fields terminated by /p, lines terminated by /n. Here you are putting a special characters here. These are new line character, and this data is stored as a simple text file. So I'm creating the schema for my table. By default, this would be an internal table. Yeah, so table is getting created now. We'll come here. Let me close this. And we will again see what is the content within that TB1. Still nothing. Why? Friends, can you hear me? Can everyone respond? Can you hear me, friends? Okay. I think for a few people there is an issue, maybe the network glitch. Avinash, are you able to hear me now? Okay. All right. So why do you think, even though I've created a table structure, employee, a table is created here, right? I've created a table called employee. Why is that still not being shown in my warehouse? Can anyone tell why it is not being shown? That is because I don't have any content yet. It is only the structure which is getting created here, right? So the schema that we have created, the structure, right? The structure that we have created would get recorded in the Derby database, Metastore. Okay. Now, okay, this is basically the information which is getting stored in Derby database structure, right? Now, let us load the data set. So to load the data, we say load data, and this is a local file which is residing in path. I need to mention where does this file actually is kept. So I've created a sample text file which is located in a path in a directory called /home/user1. So I'm giving that location here, and I'm saying overwrite if there is any content in the table. So load data from a local file which is in path, right? And write this content into a table called EMP. Now you can see loading data into a table called testdb.emp. Now let us come here. If you check on your Hadoop file system, there would be a file called EMP. Why is it not showing still? Strange. My bad. I'm looking at table 1. Yeah, this is your EMP, right? It's a directory. Let me change this. Yeah, look at this. I have a file called sample.txt. This is internal table. So what is it doing? Basically, it is taking the data which is there on your /home/user1 location, right? That content is getting stored into your warehouse, and that content definition, the representation of that content in a table, right? That representation is getting stored in Metastore. So whenever you want to refer to this particular content in structured format, you would refer to that table. So as soon as you type the command, it goes to the meta store, checks the syntax, the schema, and then arranges the data which is there in sample.txt in that particular format and gives you the table. Right? So if I now say select star, select star from EMP, when I execute this, you will get the content of that particular table, the 4 rows that you see. Look at that. The 4 rows that we have created, right? Showing in the table. If I want to drop a table, I'll say drop table TB1. I'm not dropping this EMP table, I'm dropping the table 1. I dropped it. Show tables will not show me TB1 anymore. It says only EMP table is there. You want to alter the table name, say alter table EMP to rename to EMP. Okay, let me say employee. You can say it's the same table. Select star from employee. You get the same data. If you now look at describe employee, let me show you one thing. The salary is basically defined as a string, right? I'm trying to change that data type. So I'll say alter table employee change sal to salary and mention that as double. If I say describe employee, now look at that. The sal is got changed to salary. The string got changed into double. So this way we can manipulate, we can alter the tables and all that. You can also do select star from employee where ID is equal to 1203 and semicolon is mandatory. If you don't give semicolon, I will understand that the query is not ended. So when you look into the content, this is basically the 1203 ID value. Right? So this is how, excuse me, this is how we can basically create our Hive content or Hive tables for manipulating. Okay. Now, as you have seen, if I have to change this Hive to external table, this is what I can do. Alter table, table name, set table properties, external is equals to true. So I'll just say alter table, this command. Oops. Alter table, employee, set table properties, the syntaxes, external is equals to done. Your table is now converted into an external table. The disadvantage is when you look at this, I'll say drop table employee. The table is dropped now, right? I'll say show tables. There are no tables, but this would not delete sample.txt. You should not delete the sample.txt because it is now not managed by Hive. Okay, because it might have defined as, why is it not deleting? Strange. Okay. It's defined as an external table. How come it is X is equals to true, right? Convert an internal table to an external table. So it should not delete. Probably okay. You can basically try and explore this, friends. It should not delete the file that you have here because Hive would not manage anymore. If it is an external table, Hive would not manage anything. So try and create an external table explicitly and see if the data comes into the Hive, your warehouse. It will not be there here in the warehouse when you create external table. Okay. So try and explore this. And if you have any queries, if you have any feedback, please connect with us on our social media channels. These are the various channels that we are present on, and give your valuable feedback. Any queries, any questions that you people have? Table 1 is already deleted, Avinash, right? So it would not be there. We already dropped the table. If I create the table, it will again, if I say create table TB1, it will again come back. Let's say hi, once here. Table TB1. String. Do this. Now it will basically show me the TB1. Yeah, now you can see TB1 is there, right? So that's basically how your tables are getting generated. That structure is getting created on HDFS. All right, so that's it. I have wanted to discuss about internal tables and external tables of Hive and the architecture of Hive, basically the features of Hive, and how we basically write Hive queries. Simple queries, of course, but yeah, you can start from this, right? So thank you so much. If you have any queries, please get in touch with us. Until next time, happy learning, friends. Thank you.